narrative going out there from the media that you are just a racist if you don't like Ironheart. The reason it's getting this backlash, the reason it's getting bad reviews, the reason that fans don't like what they see, it's just because all the damn racists out there, Jay. It's MAGA trolls, it's racist, it's blah, blah, blah. Well, we finally have our first hint of what this show is performing like when it comes to the numbers. Spoiler alert, kind of exactly what we expect. Ironheart ratings in the gutter, absent from the viewership charts, at least for its first week.
Techniques.
They have bad taste.
It's not Stewart, it's Rampage.
Oh my God, I'm rolling my eyes. I've got to put up with this macho nonsense all over again. It's all ego. You would never find me with an ego like that. Not with my fallopian tube.
Natalie AI thing seems utterly preposterous and ridiculous, and even for an MCU show, I'm finding it to be a little bit of a bridge too far to go. The heist crew, all lame. Every single one of them, all lame.
Ladies and gentlemen, gather round because the Marvel machine has just hit another pothole on the road to what was once superhero domination. This time, the wreckage comes in the form of a series that was supposed to be groundbreaking, inspiring, and the next big thing. But instead, well, it disappeared faster than you can say Infinity Stone. We're talking about Ironheart, and the drama isn't just on screen. Star Dominique Thorne is allegedly in tears. Marvel execs are dodging responsibility. And fans are asking one question. What happened to the magic?
Yeah, and it's like the real Tony Stark. It's like back somehow. And there's like a moment where she's flying through and he's like, who is that? And she's like, I'm Ironheart, Mr. Stark. And he's like, I like that girl. And then he like goes to do something else. Like that would be like the level of something that I think would possibly happen.
Let's break it down, because this story is juicier than Tony Stark's dating history and hotter than Wanda Maximoff's temper. Buckle up. In a move that shocked even die-hard Marvel fans, Ironheart dropped 3 full episodes without so much as a trumpet fanfare. No massive Comic-Con reveal, no Instagram takeover, just plop. There it was. The result? Deafening silence. The show failed to chart on any major stream, trend lists. Not even a pity spot at the bottom of the Disney Plus homepage. Even Secret Invasion, which fans love to roast, had more online buzz.
Why she's frustrated. That's how I feel watching her interviews.
How do you feel about the impact that she's having on young Black girls? And I'm going to be completely honest, on Black women.
You know, this is yet another area that's getting vibrant. It's getting full in the way that it should be.
So why so quiet? Many speculate that Marvel saw the train wreck coming. The whispers from early test screenings were brutal, and the internal confidence was at an all-time low. Think about it. Marvel used to throw release parties with red carpets and champagne fountains. For Ironheart, they basically just ghosted their own series. Ouch. Let's rewind the tape a bit. Back in 2019 to 2020, Marvel teased Ironheart as the spiritual successor to Iron Man. Riri Williams was supposed to fill the genius, billionaire, inventor-sized hole left by Tony Stark. The character debuted in the comics as a teen genius who builds her own Iron Man suit at MIT. Fans were cautiously optimistic. Dominique Thorne, a rising star with undeniable talent, was cast.
It deserves your attention. Ironheart deserves your attention. That's how I knew. I was like, oh, they are desperate to get people to watch this damn show. After I did my reaction, I kept getting, hey, it wasn't that bad. I just watched it. Hey, I just watched the first 3 episodes. It wasn't that bad.
She even appeared in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which was supposed to be her springboard, but then not. No real character development, no compelling arc, just a watered-down, sarcastic character who felt more like a Reddit thread than a real person. Even Robert Downey Jr. once commented, off the record, that passing the Iron Man torch would take a miracle and a bit of edge. Sadly, Ironheart lacked both. You know what's worse than angry backlash? Silence. And that's exactly what Dominique Thorne and the Ironheart team got. A deafening, soul-crushing silence. When Ironheart was officially announced and dropped its first teasers, Marvel expected their usual wave of fanfare. Instead, the fandom responded with nothing. Not a spark of excitement, no hashtags trending, no Reddit threads dissecting every frame of footage, just eerie quiet. For a franchise that built its empire on hype and fan engagement, that kind of silence speaks volumes. And this wasn't just your average MCU fatigue. Fans weren't just tired, they were actively disinterested. The silence from both hardcore Marvel fans and casual viewers became an unmistakable indicator. People simply didn't care. And when audiences don't care, they don't show up. And when they don't show up, platforms and studios notice quickly. Social media, usually buzzing after any Marvel drop, barely lifted a digital eyebrow for Ironheart. Comment sections were ghost towns. Fan pages that would normally react, theorize, and celebrate new characters went about business as usual, completely ignoring Riri Williams. Big moment. It was as if Ironheart had never even entered the Marvel universe. It was heartbreaking, not just for Dominique Thorne, who had poured herself into the role, but for the creatives and showrunners who had pinned hopes on Ironheart continuing the legacy of Tony Stark. Instead, it became a symbol of Marvel's deepening disconnect from its audience. Dominique, a young star with immense promise, found herself leading a project no one seemed to be rooting for. And let's talk about the trailers, because Marvel has always been the king of hype building. They know how to sell a product, or at least they used to. With Ironheart, though, the marketing team felt like they were shooting in the dark. From the jump, the trailers were oddly flat. The tone was muddled, the pacing sluggish, and the music choices didn't evoke excitement or curiosity. The visuals, though serviceable, lacked the cinematic punch Marvel fans crave. And worse, they didn't clearly explain what the show was actually about. Was it about science and tech? Was it a coming-of-age tale? A political statement? A legacy story? Nobody could tell, and that confusion alienated even the most loyal MCU followers. As detailed in the transcript, this wasn't a case of audiences don't get it. It was a classic marketing identity crisis. The promo content leaned heavily into identity politics, pushing representation to the forefront while completely neglecting compelling storytelling or emotional stakes. And that's not to say representation is the issue, far from it. But when it's the only selling point of your trailer, and there's no hook, no urgency, no stakes, that's where Marvel dropped the ball. They tried to paint Ironheart as the next Iron Man, without showing any of the grit, the innovation, or the charisma that made Tony Stark a household name. Instead of evoking excitement, the trailers felt like homework, a checklist of themes, a marketing effort more focused on making a point than telling a story. The result? The trailers failed to create buzz. Fan theories didn't flourish. YouTube breakdowns were few and far between. Even the biggest Marvel hype channels could barely squeeze out a top 5 Easter eggs you missed video, because there were no Easter eggs anyone cared about. And then came the backlash to the backlash, when Ironheart began showing signs of crashing and burning. A portion of the media and Twitter blue checks rushed to its defense, crying foul and blaming what else? Racism. According to them, if fans didn't like Ironheart, it had to be because Dominique Thorne is a black woman in a lead superhero role. This is where things got really messy. Instead of addressing legitimate concerns, the weak writing, uninspired direction, and awkward tone, many outlets chose to ignore the elephant in the room and paint all criticism with a broad, ugly brush. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't about why the show didn't work. It was about fans being bigots. But here's the problem. Ironheart wasn't hated. It was ignored. Fans didn't protest it like The Last Jedi or flood Rotten Tomatoes with rage reviews. They just tuned out. And when people did critique it, they often brought up the writing or lack thereof. The character of Riri Williams, as presented, felt flat and forced. Dominique Thorne tried her best, but she was handed a script that didn't give her a character arc or emotional depth. As one reviewer put it, she wasn't a hero. She wasn't even a person. She was a Statement, that's not Dominique's fault. That's on the writers. And yet, instead of retooling the show or addressing constructive feedback, Marvel and its defenders doubled down on the idea that any rejection must be rooted in prejudice. The irony? This defensive posture alienated even more fans. People who might have given the show a second chance felt insulted and pushed away. The conversation shifted from "how do we fix this?" to "how dare you question us?" It was a PR disaster, fueled by arrogance and denial. And sadly, Dominique Thorne became the face of this failure, unfairly caught in the crossfire of a culture war she didn't ask for. Let's talk numbers. IMDb, 3.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes audience score, 56%. And get this, Ironheart didn't even make the top 10 original streaming shows the week it premiered. Not only that, but reruns of shows like Suits and Bluey ranked higher. Yes, Bluey, a cartoon dog, outperformed Marvel. According to Luminate, Ironheart ranked below reality. Dating shows. That's like being outscored by a soggy salad in a cooking contest. Let's call it like it is. Marvel's once flawless reputation is in free fall. First, it was She-Hulk, which turned courtroom drama into courtroom cringe. Then The Marvels, which made less in its opening weekend than Iron Man did back in 2008. Echo was released in a binge dump and forgotten in 48 hours. Ms. Marvel had potential, but got buried in a clunky script and tonal whiplash. And now Ironheart joins the MCU graveyard. It's the same pattern. A project is hyped, poorly written, released without fanfare, flops, then blamed on the audience. Kevin Feige is reportedly under pressure from Disney brass. One executive allegedly joked, "Can we call the X-Men yet?" Translation, bring in the heavy hitters, because this new gen formula isn't working. Marvel used to be the gold standard. Emotional arcs, epic stakes, unforgettable characters. Now, it feels like a diversity checklist with no heart. That's not tea. Representation isn't important. It is. But story has to come first. Viewers can smell when they're being pandered to, and nothing turns off an audience faster than feeling preached at. People didn't love Captain America because he was white. They loved him because he was selfless, conflicted, noble. They didn't love Black Panther because he was black. They loved him because he was powerful, wise, and human. Right now, Marvel is stuck in a rut. The Disney Plus experiment has diluted the brand. And unless they course correct soon, we might look back at Ironheart not as a one-off flop, but as the beginning of the end. So where does this leave Dominique Thorne? Heartbroken. The actress who was supposed to carry the future of Marvel is left to pick up the pieces of a shattered debut. Fans who wanted to love this series are mourning what could have been. But all is not lost. Dominique is talented. Give her the right script, the right team, and she could still soar. But Marvel? Marvel needs to stop hiding behind PR excuses and start making great stories again. Because right now, even Groot has better character development. And he only says one line. Stay tuned, and maybe rewatch Iron Man tonight, just to remember what it used to feel like.